On an ordinary day, Brittany Cormier and her daughter should have been enjoying a peaceful family moment. However, this tranquility was shattered by a group of cold-blooded assassins, forcing Brittany to face a life-and-death decision. When the killers burst into their home searching for a target, Brittany resolutely chose to pretend to be her daughter to protect her life. Her courage and maternal love are admirable, but this choice also sealed her irreversible fate. As the story unfolds, the complex family relationships and conspiracies behind this murder case gradually come to light, prompting us to ponder: how many people are willing to sacrifice their lives for family when faced with love and sacrifice? On the afternoon of January 13, 2021, Brittany Cormier and her daughter were supposed to enjoy a peaceful day at home. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, bathing the cozy living room in warmth as the mother and daughter savored the small joys of life. However, this tranquil atmosphere was soon shattered by a series of urgent knocks at the door. A wave of unease washed over Brittany as she slowly approached the door, sensing an impending disturbance. When she opened the door, two young men stood there, Andrew Eskin and Dalvin Wilson. Their gazes were cold and resolute. Without hesitation, they bluntly demanded to see Brittany's daughter. In that moment, Brittany's heart filled with fear as she realized the two men had malicious intent. She understood that their target was her daughter, and she had to protect her. Brittany quickly made a difficult decision. She thought of a bold idea: to pretend to be her daughter. This choice meant putting her own life at risk. But as a mother, she knew she had to do everything possible to save her child. She let her hair down, trying to make herself look like her daughter, and said in a firm voice, "I am her." Eskin and Wilson were momentarily taken aback by this sudden change, and Brittany seized the opportunity to keep acting. She tried to convince them that she was indeed their intended target. At that moment, Brittany's neighbor, Hope Nettleton, who was also in the house, quickly realized the severity of the situation and decided to assist Brittany. The two women banded together to face the impending disaster. However, the situation changed in an instant. The assailants were clearly not inclined to let this go easily. Brittany and Hope desperately tried to buy time, hoping that Brittany's daughter and stepdaughter could escape this bloody confrontation. As they worked to stabilize the situation, the two young girls hiding upstairs held their breath, quietly watching the horror that was about to unfold. As the standoff intensified, Brittany's heart raced. She knew time was running out. The two killers roamed through every corner of the house, searching for the target they desired. While pretending to remain calm, Brittany attempted to distract them, feeling a mix of fear and anxiety. As a mother, her instinct pushed her to keep fighting. Just then, the killers grew impatient. Eskin finally lost his temper and bluntly stated that if they didn't hand over the person they were after, they would take ruthless action. Brittany's heart ached. She understood there was no way out. The only thing she could do now was maintain the facade, trying to buy time for her daughters. However, the desperate situation did not improve. As the assailants grew angrier, Brittany was ultimately forced to confront a tragic end. She and Hope were shot, and although her bravery and cleverness temporarily protected her daughter, her sacrifice was heartbreaking. The two girls upstairs witnessed the entire ordeal, leaving indelible scars on their souls. On this terrifying day, they lost their closest mother and became silent witnesses to an unspoken trauma. All they could do was helplessly wait in the dark, hoping this nightmare would end soon. In all of this, a mother's desperate choice shone through. Brittany sacrificed her life to protect her daughter, leaving an eternal mark on this family tragedy. After Brittany Cormier and her neighbor Hope Nettleton were shot, Andrew Eskin and Dalvin Wilson quickly fled the scene. With the killers gone, the investigation immediately commenced, and law enforcement realized they needed to work tirelessly to bring justice to the victims and their families. Investigators began by collecting evidence from the scene, attempting to find any clues that could lead them to the killers. Nearby surveillance cameras became critical tools for the investigation. By analyzing the video footage, police noticed a suspicious vehicle in the vicinity on the day of the incident. After tracing the license plate, they confirmed a connection to Andrew Eskin, laying the groundwork for further investigation. Law enforcement quickly initiated inquiries into Eskin and Wilson. Over the course of several weeks, they gradually pieced together the full narrative of the events on the day of the crime. At the same time, they interviewed residents in the area to gather witness testimonies. Some witnesses reported seeing two young men frequently entering and exiting Brittany's home prior to the incident. The information began to accumulate, and police confirmed the identities of Eskin and Wilson, beginning their pursuit. However, the chase was far from easy. Eskin and Wilson were clearly aware of the police investigation, and they changed hiding spots frequently during their flight to avoid capture. The intensity of police work increased as investigators employed various methods to determine the whereabouts of the two. During this period, they utilized mobile signal tracking technology to pinpoint their movements and analyze their connections to Brittany. Ultimately, through the convergence of multiple leads, law enforcement located the hiding spot of Eskin and Wilson and launched a raid. After a pursuit, the two were apprehended. Once in custody, they were taken back to the police station, where officers conducted several hours of interrogations to extract more information. Initially, both men remained calm under questioning, attempting to conceal the truth. However, faced with mounting evidence, they eventually had to reveal the facts. During the interrogation, police gradually uncovered the complex family grievances behind the murder case. The two admitted they were not acting alone but were driven by a larger conspiracy. Through thorough questioning, law enforcement ultimately traced the mastermind behind the plot, Brittany's brother, Bose Cormier. At this point, the nature of the case became increasingly complicated, raising questions about Bose's motives. Why would he hire a hitman to kill his own niece? Bose Cormier's life underwent a dramatic change in March 2020 when he was arrested for allegedly raping his own niece in Lafayette Parish. This case exposed his heinous actions to the light, subjecting him to both legal and moral judgment. Faced with the impending trial and the possibility of imprisonment, Bose felt a profound sense of panic. He realized that if his niece testified in court, his past would be fully revealed and there would be nowhere to hide from the consequences of his crimes. This thought pierced his mind like a dagger, causing him sleepless nights filled with dread. In extreme fear and desperation, Bose began to devise a sinister plan. He resolved to stop his niece from testifying by any means necessary, even going so far as to hire a hitman to carry out this vile act. To accomplish this, he reached out to two of his friends, Andrew Eskin and Dalvin Wilson, hoping to pull them into this appalling conspiracy. Bose was filled with selfishness and despair, allowing him to cast aside family ties without hesitation. He set his sights on his niece, believing that silencing her was the only way to secure his own freedom. Despite understanding the irreparable consequences of such actions, he placed his own safety and freedom far above any sense of familial loyalty. Bose and his friends meticulously plotted a murder, aiming to eliminate his niece before she could testify. As the plan unfolded, Bose's mentality became increasingly cold-hearted. His distorted self-preservation instinct consumed his thoughts, rendering him oblivious to the devastating impact his actions would have on his family. Ultimately, the murder took place on an otherwise ordinary night, and Bose's scheme was executed as he intended. However, just when he thought he had evaded the law, his inner turmoil began to manifest in unforeseen ways. Shockingly, after killing his sister, Brittany Cormier, Bose still appeared at her funeral, serving as a pallbearer with a smile on his face, seemingly detached from the horrific crime he had just committed. This behavior was incomprehensible and revealed the depth of his chilling coldness. At his relative's funeral, he displayed no remorse, as if he were entirely unaware of the profound consequences of his recent actions. Bose's heartlessness not only harmed his innocent niece, but also plunged the entire family into despair. Even when faced with legal repercussions, he continued to attempt to manipulate the situation with lies and deceit to protect himself. This narrative unveils the darkness and despair lurking within human nature, illustrating how some individuals resort to extreme measures to evade the law. However, Bose's plan was ultimately destined to fail. Despite maintaining his composure and calm demeanor at his sister's funeral, he could not escape the approaching trial and the looming consequences of his actions. As the investigation progressed, the truth would gradually come to light, and Bose would inevitably confront the inescapable outcome of the dark path he had chosen. In early 2021, Bose Cormier, Andrew Eskin, and Dalvin Wilson faced trial in the Lafayette courthouse. The case garnered significant media attention, and residents of the entire community entered the courtroom with tension and anticipation, eager to witness the trial of justice. On the first day of the trial, the atmosphere in the courtroom was exceptionally heavy. The prosecution presented evidence one by one, showcasing surveillance footage from the night of the crime, witness testimonies, and police investigation reports. Every detail of the case was dissected in court, revealing the dark plan of Bose and his accomplices. The prosecution's evidence not only pointed to the trio's direct involvement, but also unveiled Bose's motive for hiring hitmen and his cold-heartedness towards family members. Throughout the trial, the family of the victim, Brittany Cormier, was present, their faces somber, filled with sorrow and anger. They sought justice for Brittany through the legal process. Bose, sitting in the defendant's chair, appeared uneasy, occasionally fidgeting with his clothing, his expression shifting between gloom and anxiety. He realized he was facing an inescapable trial. After several days of hearings, the court ultimately confirmed the charges against the three. Bose, Eskin, and Wilson were all charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The prosecution subsequently added charges of conspiracy to commit murder and attempted first-degree murder against all 3, aiming to bring every participant to justice. The court's decision triggered a strong reaction from the victim's family, who felt both anger and a sense of solace, believing that justice had finally been served. As the jury delivered the verdict, whispers filled the courtroom. Many community residents were shocked by the trial's outcome. This murder case not only shook Lafayette, but also sparked deep reflection on violence and family relationships. Discussions about the case made people increasingly aware of the darkness and cruelty within human nature, raising concerns about societal safety. In the end, the judge pronounced the sentences, sentencing the 3 defendants to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The judge's voice was firm and calm, conveying the authority and justice of the law. At that moment in the audience, Brittany's family shed tears, knowing that while this verdict could not bring their loved one back, it provided them with closure and marked an end to the case. This trial was not only a conviction of the 3 defendants, but also a wake-up call for the entire community. As the dust settled on the case, people began to pay more attention to issues of domestic violence and societal safety, hoping to prevent such tragedies from happening again through education and prevention efforts. This tragedy is not just a double homicide. It is a profound reflection on maternal love and family relationships. Brittany made a shocking sacrifice to protect her daughter, revealing the greatness and selflessness of a mother's love. In court, justice was ultimately served, but the underlying conspiracies and hatred left an endless chill. Every lost life is accompanied by a shattered family, and this case serves as a warning. When confronted with evil, the power of love can not only give us courage, but can also illuminate hope in the darkest moments. May everyone remember this sacrifice and cherish every moment in front of them.